There's a lot of money to be made by someone with money and intelligence to create fun summer housing options for people.
And then one day, everything stopped. I was like, where did all these people come from? Who are these people? What's going on?
They might have a
The
job,
light-
but they don't have a house. They don't have housing for people.
I
So
don't
imagine
really
being-
have neighbors. I'm on 24 acres. I did that on purpose. I don't want to see anybody. I want everyone to think I died and went to heaven, because that's where I am.
All right, we are back with another Living You podcast with Jess Miletto and Rich Santos. We are coming to you today with a couple of slightly not off topic, but slightly peripheral things. But we wanted to talk about some housing and business development happening in our local area, which is, I think, super cool, super fun, because we kind of prattle on, Jess, endlessly about the lack of investment in our towns, the lack of new housing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought this would be interesting things to talk about. First of all, hi, welcome back. And do you have any thoughts? And I should always ask you, what is it like to be living you this fine day before we dive into our development topics?
Well, thank you for the intro, and thank you for the question. I immediately go right to the second I hit record, the dogs decide to pick up squeaky toys. So, little disclaimer, I don't have children. I only have dogs that I treat better than most people get treated. If you hear squeaky toys, I will apologize in advance, but they just got a new bark box, which is their favorite thing in the world. And I couldn't, and I wish you could see Sophia right by my feet. If you're on YouTube, you're going to get a little treat because they got a campfire box, and this is a little s'more.
A little stuffed
Their
s'more.
toys that they get from the bark box. I mean, it's a shameless plug, I guess. But anyway, so Living Jess is living with dogs, and one of them, if you want to know, TMI, just farted. So I'm coming to you live and trying to move the air while I'm trying to be on a professional podcast. But this is a little bit blooper reel behind the scenes. That's what it's like living Jess today.
Jess, I don't have dogs. I don't know those products. Is that like a subscription type thing? You get a box a month or something, and they have toys and stuff in it. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. And you can get different boxes. I used to get the treats. They hated the
Is that a
treats.
company that would sponsor us?
Yeah, Bark Box. I mean, they should. So I just found out that
keep
Bark,
plugging their product.
and they have other companies too. They have other, and they just started Bark Air, where you can fly with your full-size dogs anywhere in the world. So we were just looking into how can we take the dogs? Like how do we take them
I know someone that would
somewhere?
be interested in that too.
I know that you know someone that would be interested in that too. So it's Bark Air, and there's actually 4 airlines right now that will let you fly with your dog in the cabin.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay.
Yes, that's the point. I'm not putting them in cargo. They're not underwear and socks.
I don't know. Maybe they
Yeah,
could put
no,
in
that's
an
traditionally what
airbox,
they've done.
For all I know. I don't know.
Oh, God, I've never put my babies in there. I want them sitting on the seat next to me. But now that Giovanni has farted, I realize how this could be a mistake in a plane. But anyway, that's living me. And probably a better topic is local news and things going on. But I will say a lot of these little communities, they don't want things to change. So there's this hesitation to let new money in, new people, new business, new investments. I get that because they don't want someone to come in and change their town. And sometimes they're a little too careful, and sometimes you keep out opportunity. Case in point, we don't have to cover this in detail, but I just saw on the Milford page that there's the Elm Inn, and there's a lot of people talking about there's someone coming that wants to reopen it and operate it, as an inn the way it used to for the local community, restaurant, everything. And there's a lot of people in support of this. Oh, I hunted with my grandpa. We used to go there for cheeseburgers, whatever. There's all these beautiful stories and memories of, the people that used to run it as well or remembered, so fondly in the community. And there's actually a lot of support for this gentleman to come in, buy the inn, and revive it, even though since it's been out of commission, they have changed a lot of the zoning laws, and you can't really operate like a bed and breakfast anymore, right? So we know there's a moratorium on the short-term rental thing. So it sort of feels like that to people, but it's not. It's a local restaurant and a local, community hub where anybody can go and enjoy. So they're actually, majority of the community is asking for a variance for them and saying, we actually want this business and we want this investor to come in and we want to be able to let our friends and family stay there the way they used to back in the day. So that was interesting. So you see it all the time. Communities are very vocal about what's happening because they have to live with it. They have to be there. So like an out-of-state or an out-of-town investor, let's just throw up a bunch of apartment buildings and clog up everybody's stores and roads and resources. Yeah, people don't love that. So, but then we got a couple of good examples you pulled too.
Yeah. So, and along those lines, in any kind of development is a huge process these days, right? It has to be, planning boards, approvals, like you said, infrastructure, traffic management, school capacities, healthcare facilities, proximity to commerce and attractions. I mean, all of that goes into it. We're far enough away that we're not in the middle of it, but there's this, people know the Micron plant that's going up just north of Syracuse, which is a huge silicone chip manufacturer. So there's an enormous, like we're going to talk about local stuff here in a moment, but Micron is going to bring in, I don't know the numbers, but it's probably hundreds of thousands, maybe not hundreds, anyway, thousands and thousands of jobs, right? Thousands of people to relocate to this area for this new plant. And that is also on a much bigger scale. It's one of these things where they don't just have to think about, can I build a factory and bring people to work? It's where do they live? Where do they go to school? Where do they go shop? And all that stuff, right? It's a bundle of infrastructure and decision making. So it's not easy, but the red tape is important because we can't just, what if they just built the factory and then everyone was like, where do we go? So it has to be done, in steps and in process. So what we're going to talk about locally, Jess, there's two cool stories that I want to cover. You and I talk about it a little bit, and it's related to what you just said about short-term rentals. By the way, shout out to bed and breakfasts. My mother ran a bed and breakfast out in my suburban outskirts home in Fairport, New York, when I was growing up. So my college years, Jess, I would come home for like a college break. I'd be staying up late, doing my college thing. I'd wake up at like 9 in the morning, come downstairs for like a cup of water, and there'd be like people just in my dining room like having their buffet breakfast. I'm like, Mom, what are we doing? Like, this is not what I wanted in my life. It was great for her in the house, but like, I don't want to wake up to guests in my dining room, bro. This is not fun for me.
Interesting. But, yeah, that's an interesting perspective.
I was at that point, I was the guest in the house, right? I was out of the house basically. So anyway, okay. So in our area, we have this unique setup where we've talked about this before. So if you know this stuff, fast forward 20 seconds. But we have the Baseball Hall of Fame. The National Baseball Hall of Fame is located up in Cooperstown, New York, about, let's call it 30-ish minutes north of our main town, Oneonta. I just, by the way, looked up the city demographics for Oneonta, Jess. Do you know how big the city actually is in population as of the 2020 census? Do you want to even hazard a guess?
11,000 people.
Oh, that's actually quite good. They had it at 13,000 people. But guys, check it out. Like, I think that's a small city, and it is. But that is our city around here.
That's how many people lived on my block in Queens. We had 11,000 people just right on 82nd Street.
Yeah, so it's all relative. But because of that Hall of Fame thing, in the last 20, I don't know when they started, but 2 separate like summer baseball tournament facilities have opened up. So they have these youth baseball teams from, I think they're like U12, U13 age group, and these teams come in and they come and play these 6-day long camp/tournament little brackets. It's fun. It's got to be a blast. I was a soccer player growing up. I would go to camps and tournaments, so I know what that was like. But they're coming in with their baseball teams. The kids stay on site. They have their team housing, but the families and the grandpas and the uncles and the aunts and the nieces and the nephews and whoever travels with the group, they've got to find some place to stay. So it has led to a really booming short-term rental market. And this is a very finite thing. It's a very seasonal thing. It's from late May to late August, and then it shuts down, and then all those, so you can make a lot of money in that block of time, but then it's not a year-long thing. So anyway, it's a good local economy booster, and there's pros and cons for sure. But the second facility that's closer to Oneonta, it's just in what we basically call West Oneonta. It's about 4 minutes from the middle of town. But anyway, they are successful and they are continuing to expand. So they've recently applied for permits and applications to expand the facility even further. Not necessarily geographically. They don't have to buy more land right now, but what it is an expansion of the operation. So I'm going to run you down a quick crib sheet of stuff that's happening. Check this out, Jess. They're going to put in another 20 to 30 million in this project of investment. This will result in 2 new baseball fields. There's already 12 on site, so that's 2 more, so they're going up to 14. One of them will be kind of like a championship stadium, like a 1,200 seat stadium. So they're going to have a kind of a national baseball youth championship there, and then a new bunkhouse for 18 additional teams per week. That means that the facility will be able to have 112 teams per week during the summer season. It keeps going. They're going to add athletic facilities, retail space, restaurant, more parking, stormwater infrastructure, other things. Key thing is the parking is on the other side of a already busy state highway, and then the fields are on the other side. So right now we have this temporary crosswalk with a temporary traffic light, and it's not safe. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So the plan is to build a proper pedestrian walkway or bridge over the road.
Above 23 would be nice.
Above 205-23. Yeah. Again, 19 new structures, 547 net new parking spaces, 17% seasonal increase in visitors, players, staff, and spectators. The timeline, Jess, would be potentially beginning this fall and finishing in May of 2028 for that expansion. Now, this is still early phase. They're in planning phase. This is just the first proposal. But I personally, now I think they actually did have a town meeting a couple nights ago. I didn't get an update. But personally, I doubt there's a lot of substantial roadblocks to this. Mostly because they're not really doing anything that isn't already here. The thing already exists. It's proven that it makes money, and it's proven to be a good economic generator for our area. All they're doing is making incremental expansions, and it sounds like they want to do it right in a cautious and legitimate way. All that being said, 17% more seasonal revenue in the area,
people, I know,
on top of what's already a big summer engine. Yeah. Where do they go eat? Where do they go get their beers? Where do they go whatever? It means that it just means further seasonal bifurcation of our market right here, right? Because local homeowners might not love it because of traffic, because of noise, because you go to the grocery store and you got to go through the baseball moms and dads. But at the same time, your local pizza shop and ice cream shop, they're doing great. You can run a seasonal business and make money. You can rent out your house. I see all the pros and cons. I think it's neat. If I was a baseball fan, I would love it even more. It doesn't speak to me that way as a sport, but just as a local thing happening, I think it's cool. But you have a lot of thoughts on this. Where do you go with it?
It's so funny because when I first moved up here, baseball's not on my radar. I don't know anything about baseball. I knew Cooperstown was a baseball thing, but even when I moved up here, I didn't even realize it was the same Cooperstown, because there's multiple cities with multiple names. So I didn't even really know what the hell was going on. And I loved it up here because there was nobody around and there was no line in BJ's, and it wasn't hard to drive down the main stretch where all the stores are. There's never a line anywhere. I'm like, how is this Saturday afternoon and I'm got a full cart of stuff from BJ's and I'm walking up and the woman's waiting for me? Amazing. In Queens, I had to be there 45 minutes before I'm even putting my stuff on the belt. 45 minutes. And then one day, everything stopped. I was like, where did all these people come from? Who are these people? What's going on? The light only lets 3 cars go, and then it turns red again. I'm super frustrated. It went from 13 minutes drive to my house to 18 minutes drive to my house, and I'm in a frenzy now. And then somebody said, oh, it's the freaking baseball people. The freaking baseball people. So that was my first initiation into the baseball world.
Disruption, a disruption in your peaceful haven that you thought you were
a 5-minute delay, a 5-minute delay. And I would say the other, and that's just a really funny kind of,
No, but
note.
those things add up in our heads. That's we
It's
think
yeah,
right.
no,
We're
it's
humans. Humans are
this is
selfish
what the
first,
this is
frankly.
what
You
the
know, yeah.
locals are thinking though. This is what people have lived here all their lives, and they don't deal with this all year. And when it happens, it's very jarring. And the other thing is housing, like you talked about. Like if you're going to increase that many more people, I love that they can have two more teams, but lodging is a
Two more
thing.
fields, 18 more
Two more
teams. Sorry.
fields, two more yeah, whatever. They're expanding. More people are gonna come. I
Yeah,
love
it's like
that.
a 20%
And
expansion of teams.
the short-term rental market is amazing, and the people that jumped in on it and they're making money on it is amazing. And now years down the line, people are seeing the negative impacts where you buy a house, you move into a community, you live there, you work there, your kids are going to school there, that's your grocery store, and you don't know your neighbors anymore because for however many weeks during the summer, between May and August, it's transient. And there's all kinds of people, and you can have good ones and bad ones. And you can have ones that care and ones that don't, ones that are loud, ones that are quiet, ones that are sloppy, ones that now are impacting your quality of life for half the year. So definitely the communities are starting to show up more about, hey, I love that this is working and functioning. This is great for business. And if you just live here, and now our residential areas are being treated as hotels, that's a problem. So I see that.
Yep.
I can see that because if like I don't really have neighbors. I'm on 24 acres. I did that on purpose. I don't want to see anybody. I want everyone to think I died and went to heaven because that's where I am. However, if I lived in a little village and the houses all around me 6 months out of the year, whatever, 5 months out of the year started to be more transient and more things going on and then a lot of kids around and I can see how that's going to start wearing on the communities and they're definitely some of them are starting to push back and have some tougher permitting laws and things like that. There's a moratorium like I mentioned in Milford. Meanwhile, I just put up a house with 2 beautiful units that would be the perfect baseball rental, but I said it on the community page before I even put it up, before I even listed it, like, hey, like, what's going on with the short-term rentals in Milford? And I got this, like, I still get notifications. Someone still commented on it weeks later because it's just this ongoing hundreds of comments. And it's really, the majority of it is, we don't want that here. So that would be my initial, thoughts to share. And I also think there's a lot of pros. But I'll pause so that you can jump in here and respond to that.
No, I think those are all super legitimate local resident complaints, and that's probably broadly what people think. They think increased traffic, more, like, oh, my Friday night restaurant that I would go to normally, I could get a table. Now it's packed. I did this last weekend. I went to a restaurant on Friday night, and I thought it was cool, but there was a whole bunch of people that were, very clearly there for the baseball camps.
Yeah.
Good business for the restaurant. My wait was a little bit longer, but whatever. I'm okay with the roll with that, but I get the inconvenience.
Inconvenience is one thing, but just one small note. It's not necessarily about that extra 5 minutes, right, on my grocery shopping. It's like when they don't live here, some of them, not all, because I've also worked with baseball families helping them purchase up here so that they can have a short-term rental. I mean, one of my best clients is doing that, renovating a house right now in Lawrence, and I love them, and they're good people. It has nothing to do with the people, right? Sometimes people come to a community because they're not from it. Sometimes they just don't care. They may throw garbage out the window when they're driving. You know what I mean? So you're just drawing a crowd. You're drawing everybody. You're not just drawing the people that are like, hey, I'm a visitor here. I'm a guest in this house right now. I'm a guest in this community. Let me take care of it and do the best I can. You don't always get those people. So that's the complaint. The good people should come and do good things. I love that their kids have this amazing talent. They're in baseball. They're not doing drugs. They're not selling crack right now. You know what I mean? Like, the kids have something, and they have a career. They have something that the family comes together. This is an incredible thing. There's so many pros. It's just that small group of people, that sect of people that will come and not respect that they're actually in someone's community. All right.
Well,
Now,
I mean,
now I'm done.
what you're hitting on is the unique thing here is that we clearly have created this niche tourism industry. However, I don't think the infrastructure locally has kept up with what you would have correlate with most tourist niche areas. They would have hotels, motels, facilities where people would stay for the specific purpose of like, hey, we're going to turn you over every 6 days. Because right now they basically go to someone's house, or for the most part, these are going to homes that are being whatever either purchased and owned simply for that investment, which is I'm okay with, but still it's a home that could be lived in by a full-time resident, or people are being strategic with maybe developing a land parcel in a way where you might put up an accessory dwelling unit or things, and those are becoming more common, but they weren't a decade ago. But what we don't have, and maybe it's in the pipeline, I don't know, but it seems at this point, if this expansion gets approved, and I guarantee you, like probably a future expansion is not far away from that. Like if they just continue getting bigger and more economically viable, then at some point it won't be long until we have a big hotel or two coming up here and there. Right? It almost has to happen. Or like I'm thinking, not like a amusement park, but maybe some kind of something along those lines, or with housing or with facility. I don't know, a big campground. I don't know. I'm just saying, like the expansion of the baseball is faster than the expansion of our local towns and the other peripheral business investment to keep up with that. There's a lot of money to be made by someone with money and intelligence to create fun summer housing options for people. I wish I was in that economic place. I'm not, and I don't know if I'd want to spend my time doing that, but there's certainly an avenue for investment that, again, with approvals. And what that would do, Jess, is that would get the people out of your normal house. It would get them off that residential neighborhood block where they feel like it isn't their neighbor. Get a real, not a real, you know what I mean, like a local person.
Yeah, get a
who's gonna work
room.
and live
Get a room, you savage.
into the neighborhood, and then the tourists go to the tourist areas. It almost makes sense.
Correct.
But that would require investment. So I think there's a lot of feelings on both sides of this, but fundamentally I land on the side of cool, good for people, good for the business of the local economy.
So now I'm gonna flip the script just for a second. So I live in a little sleepy town called Maryland. Maryland is also very, very travelable, both to Cooperstown and the spot in West Oneonta. It's very easy to get to. 15 minutes, 19 minutes. There are definitely some short-term rentals in my area. Not really, though. One of the opportunities, I think, a little town like what I live in, we don't really have we don't have a grocery store. I mean, we're going to go to Oneonta, but we don't even have like a little local market. Like we don't have little local things. We have one or two restaurants. There's an ice cream shop. We go out to Worcester. There's a nice bakery there. Skenevis has a little tiny main street. But there's really not any big business or any big services, resources out here that maybe a little town could benefit from that type of economic growth and let other businesses come in and more resources here. But I also feel like I'm in that town where they don't want that to change. They like that it's quiet. They like that it's small. They like that it's very local. So it just depends, because sometimes the smaller local market is kind of what keeps more houses, again, in disrepair. There's less economy, there's less money, there's less wealth in the area. But if you had local business owners that could open things up, and be serviced by that seasonal kind of flow of extra traffic, maybe that would help some of the area. Maybe Main Street gets revitalized in that way. So I can see how it could actually really help a town if a town decided, we're going to embrace this. Like Cooperstown was like, we're going to embrace this. And that's some of the highest real estate that we have in our area is actually in Cooperstown, which is the hub of the baseball. Duh. So there could also be some kind of economic advantage as well to pull a town that probably needs revenue and needs people and needs business, and that the locals can benefit from. Let the local people open stuff and service stuff and take care of this. Could be an opportunity, but there has to be a plan. Like you said, like this is rolling out. It's going to take time. They're planning. There has to be some kind of a plan and a goal for a town, and then also a saturation point, which I think a lot of little towns are getting to. They're saturated with the short-term rentals. So anyway, just another thought I had.
Yeah, Cooperstown's a great town. I don't know if I mean Cooperstown has been historically. It's on a lake. It's on the southern shores of a lake, so it has lake town vibes
We
already,
got a
and
lake.
high quality real estate. So, um,
We
that's
got a crick.
it's a historic town for many reasons, not just the Baseball Hall of Fame, but that did add to
Sure,
the
of course it
seasonal
did,
traffic through there.
and keeps the value there for sure. I mean, it has Otesaga, so any place that has an Otesaga is going to be. If you don't know what Otesaga is, just Google it. Otesaga and go there.
There's multiple. I mean, that's a great inn and facility. There's a lot of great places in Cooperstown. It's great. Okay, our second topic, Jess, development wise, this is not the converse, but it is more primary housing. So, small town of Delhi, New York, in essentially the middle of Delaware County. It is the Delaware County seat. That's where the local government comes out of. Delhi, I don't have the population, but it's much smaller than Oneonta. It's essentially a village and some peripheral, houses in the town surrounding it. But it does have SUNY Delhi, State University of New York Delhi campus is on there. So it is a small college town, and the college towns generally have, obviously employment for their employees and things like that. And there's a few companies that are doing great. There's one called Sportsfield Specialties, which is a local business which keeps expanding. They make like artificial turf and like goal posts and all the like sports field special equipment. That's literally what they're called. But they make all the sports stuff, and they're doing great. They keep expanding. They have a huge warehouse, and they need employees as well. They keep growing as well. So along the lines of low inventory of houses, housing affordability is difficult, and we're even talking about rental populations now.
Rentals,
Where
yeah, for sure.
in the
Yeah,
local
yeah.
area, renting
Insane.
is hard because there's so few of them available. Then there's competition. It's just what we always talk about with the housing market, but there's just not enough housing. So
And worse here again because of the landlord rather short-term rental, right? And make $3,000 that week than make $1,800 for the month.
yes,
So
in
it's just
Delhi,
stacked again
there's less of the baseball stuff, but
in
certainly
Delhi, right?
student housing. A lot of people would prefer to lease to student populations because they can elevate the rate because they can't charge per semester technically anymore, but anyway, the monthly is higher than your average resident would pay.
Yep,
So
for sure.
they favor student rentals over long-term primary resident rentals. So where do the people that need to rent go and can't get a mortgage? Well, the solution might be the Pine Hill Terrace Apartments in Delhi. This is a proposed 24 unit. So there's 3 buildings of 8 apartments each that are proposed. So 24 total units. They're all going to be 2-bed units, about 1,100 square feet each. And this is all being done through the Delaware County Industrial Development Agency. It's all like done through grants and essentially like reduced taxes over a period of years. I'm not going to focus on the finances. What I'm going to focus on is what are they building and what does it do for the town. So it's the 3 buildings. It's all on a site that's already its own tax parcel. It's already got some apartments on it. So they're not changing anything fundamentally. It's already off of a side road, off of a main road. It's near the fire department and the police station. It's already a residential neighborhood with some apartments. So there's not a radical change happening. It's just new buildings. New buildings are great because it's 24 more domestic units that can have housing. And they're going to make this, the units are intended to be higher quality market rate housing with full kitchens, bathrooms, laundry, and private patios or balconies. So, and again,
Sounds
the timeline
nice.
on this is similar. Yeah, timeline is similar to the baseball one. So permitting and application and process begins this year, and then maybe finished and ready to be lived in by 2028. And they're well into the process. So the baseball one was planning phase. This has been in the works for quite a while, but they're now kind of rolling out more of the details. There's a whole section here. I could go into the tax incentives. I'm not going to focus on it, but basically, the Delaware County, the Delhi housing study that these towns do, they revealed that there's a significant shortage of year-round rental housing, particularly for professionals, young families, and local workers, which is exactly what companies like
Yes.
Sportsfield bring in, and they're trying to solve this. They're trying to solve this by promoting a company to build housing by inducing them through tax benefits. And here's the kicker. Where's the section here? The IDA, the Delaware County IDA, estimates about $16.4 million in economic activity when you compare that to the actual cost, it's like a 26-to-1 benefit to cost ratio. So it's a slam dunk for the town planning purposes, right? We have more housing for people, they can afford it, it's clean, healthy, blah blah blah, new buildings, and guess what? They'll live here, they'll spend their money here in town rather than if they had to travel from another local town, a Walton, a whatever, an Oneonta, wherever they're traveling from to get to work. Now they can work in town and have the 4-minute commute back to the apartment. Yep.
Is there any, I don't know how detailed they can get at this stage, but you said they're kind of further along. Does it feel like there's any sort of application requirements, income requirements, maybe employment? I know that with rentals we have to be really careful with fair housing and things like that, but is there a rent stabilization or a rent controlled option, like to keep it affordable? Or is there just going to be free market and they can rent it to whoever wants to rent? Or is it really going to be reserved for locals? And I don't know too much about that process other than, having some kind of an application process. Almost like when we do co-ops in the city, right? Like they want to know that the owner occupant is a resident, right? And I know that's a sale, it's a little different. But in terms of rentals, can they just rent to anybody, or are they really going to have some kind of an application process to make sure that they live there, they have a job there, they're local, and whatever?
Well,
I don't know.
As far as I can tell, and this is a great question. I don't have I'm not in the building phase of this myself. This is just reporting on reporting, but. From everything I'm seeing, it is just going to be available housing. It isn't literally like tied to an employer. It's not, because sometimes an employer will build their own housing, and that's a good idea.
Right.
This is not that. It's a private investment through incentives from the county and the town to get them to build it, but it will just be housing for quote unquote, air quotes, regular people looking to live somewhere. I'm assuming they would have a fully legal and compliant application and selection process for those units.
Yep.
I don't know the rules. I don't know what they're looking for, if it's pet friendly or not. I don't have all those details, but essentially free market, but also not overpriced. I think the idea is to keep this, like the idea is if we bring in 24 more rentals, we can kind of govern, the rental prices in the area so that people aren't overpaying obnoxiously for a single family rental or a duplex rental that they're already doing. Because again, people have to be able to afford it.
Because I could always rent Pine Hill for $300 less. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the idea. So overall, again, I'm pro for this process. I think it's great. I'm also pro of new buildings, right? You know me, I kind of geek out on this stuff, but it'll be new construction. It'll be insulated well. It'll be energy efficient. They'll be clean, healthy homes, and I like that for people.
Mm-hmm, for sure. No, and definitely listening to, and I saw it quickly on Facebook, and I just, whatever I was doing, I couldn't click on it and read all the comments, but I should have sat there and read all the comments. I will try to go back to it because I think it's important, and I love Facebook as this kind of community tool to be able to drop things out there and say, how does everyone at large feel about this? I mean, why wouldn't we talk to the local community and see what the consensus really is? Of course, the majority is going to rule on that, and as it should. But if everyone is in favor of this, and yeah, this is going to be great because, and shares their thoughts and ideas, the conversation is really important. And I think it's also important for people, I think, doing any kind of a project, to even just me putting up my listing, like to know what the local community thinks about how that's going to be marketed, out to everybody. What is this actually going to look like? Because we can say things in the planning phase. That's why I was like, are they going to have some kind of caps on income? Are they going to have some kind of rent stabilization they're going to be able to apply for? I have no idea. Is there going to be a way to really make sure, like what steps are going to be in place to police it? Or are they just going to say this is affordable housing for local people and then hope to God that it really is? So, but getting people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I think
that's what I mean. Yeah, so
well.
So it's good to kind of get the consensus anyway. There's going to be planning board meetings. That's fine. A lot of people don't show up to those, and they should, because it's their right to, if they really want to have their opinion heard. But also, I don't think Facebook can be overlooked as the forum as well, because hundreds of comments on this one in Milford was incredible, and everyone's stories that they get to share that is accessible for everyone, can go on and read every comment if they have the time to do that, where all those people wouldn't go to the meeting and wouldn't have the time to go to that planning board meeting and tell all those wonderful stories. I think it's important that just Facebook as a tool is interesting to get into these forums
The
and get
future
into
of
these
Facebook
conversations.
voting.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just saying, at least it should.
We already have
it
to
should
have like
count for something.
17-factor authentication. It seems better than walking into a polling place and you just like, my name is this. Yeah, check the box. I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole different thing.
I know.
The last thing I would
you can't make stuff up on Facebook. You got to be you.
The last thing I would add is along the lines I said about so I'm citing the 2021 and 2025 Delaware County Housing Study. So part of this, the underlying logic is, I said that they were targeting these for young professionals, blah, blah, blah. Well, apparently these employers are reporting difficulties recruiting workers because they might have a job,
find a place to
but
live.
they don't have a house, they don't have housing for people. So imagine being an employer who's got a need for a young engineer, for example, to design a new goalpost, right? I'm sure that's what they're doing. And they can't bring this engineer in because the engineer says, I'd love to take your job, but where am I going to live? I can't buy a house yet, and there's nothing to rent. What do I do? I'll go to Alabama or wherever, Austin, Texas, or wherever there is where there's plenty of housing.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to keep growth down economically in different towns. Because the bigger companies, they do pay taxes, and I know there's tax incentives, but that's a separate thing. But those businesses do bring in, the revenue that the local people actually, do benefit from. So, and you don't want to keep people from growth if they're able to do that within the community. Absolutely, we want to encourage something like that. Again, we talk about affordability, but the economy at large is also a factor, right? So all the costs and all the things and what's growing, what's not. And if an economy is dying slowly, people are not making money. They're not able to afford things anyway. So I think it's just finding that balance again of here's housing for the locals, here's housing for, short-term rentals, whatever, but finding the balance where it makes sense. And every town's going to be very different. So that's cool. I would say I am probably also pro, and I would want to consider, again, the Facebook consensus. I'll go back to it and read it. I saw that one of our agents commented on it for sure, and was in favor of it. And I thought that made sense, a point that she made. So I'll definitely go back and check it out. But again, that consensus of the community, I think, is a factor that should be heard.
They opened up. I'm closer to Delhi than you are, but they opened up recently a new Dunkin' Donuts right in the main stretch of town, and it's been a big hit. But apparently, again, this is Facebook hearsay, so I don't want to make this too loud. But apparently they're already kind of understaffed, right? They've got like one or two employees scrambling around to take care of the front of the house and the drive-through and everything, and they're like the lines are backed up. So even a new restaurant in town struggles to. Maybe they need housing for a new employee, that's literally kind of the case in point. It's just, I don't know the wages of a Dunkin' Donuts.
So weird. I thought America ran on Dunkin', and Delhi doesn't run on Dunkin'. That's so strange.
Well, there's a couple of great local cafes there. I'm not pitting one against the other, but there's the Blue Bee Cafe and the Bagels and Cream, and a lot of great shops along the main stretch.
Well, here's an unpopular opinion. You ready for this? The franchise versus the local. I'm just saying that a franchise is a local person who bought into a franchise and spent quite a bit of money to open that company locally, and they're completely funded by somebody local usually. And like our Keller Williams, for example, where is a purchased franchise agreement so that we can get the systems and get the technology and get the operating kind of plan ready-made, handed to you. Here's a book of success. Congratulations, and it's going to cost you $100,000 to open a Dunkin' Donuts. Maybe it's even more than that, but also I know a lot of people they frown upon franchises, but no, they're usually locally owned and locally run.
Yeah.
It's just they bought someone else's playbook so they would ensure success.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's the devil inherently. Also, by the way, that building was a former Pizza Hut, so it came from being a franchise establishment, and it still has the architectural hallmarks of those classic Pizza Hut buildings.
Pizza Hut isn't even pizza. I'm just telling people out there, I love our listeners, please don't eat that. Pizza Hut can be mad at me. It's fine. You show me that it's real pizza.
I don't know what that means.
I know. Don't. Let's not get into this. So that rounds out 40 minutes. Was there any other points that you wanted to make? Local news stories?
I would just say for anyone listening, if you have thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms, let us know. If you have other local development, things that aren't on our radar, let us know. I'd love to look into it and report on it. I like to be informed, and it adds to my world perception. So I like to know stuff. So if you have thoughts on that, let us know.
Yeah, we definitely want to know what's going on out there and be able to discuss it, and we want your thoughts. Again, the forum, right? That's what the comment section is for. So when you're on our podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all the things, share it with your friends, because we also appreciate interaction and some opinions on how you guys think we're doing and what you want us to do next. Also, as a little bonus, what you guys don't see is the behind the scenes bloopers of every time me and Rich get on this thing, we have a fight. So the next time we start fighting, I'm going to record it. So you guys may get a little bonus bloopers, Rich versus Jess.
It's not every time, but
it's like
it's
almost
far too frequent.
And then we're like, what are we doing? Why are we yelling? Because we're passionate.
It puts me. You guys don't care about this, but usually it takes me like 15 minutes of tech faffing around to get everything set up, and that puts me in a bad mood right off the bat. That's usually what happens.
So he's already spicy when we start, but I don't hit record. We have a little banter prior to hitting record, which today we didn't do. I hit it right away so that there was no weeds we could get into.
You were hoping
no
for the fight.
As soon as we hit record, we straighten up, we behave. Which is hilarious. But maybe if you guys are good, if you ask for it, we'll get you a bonus episode of a fight. Anyway, love you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.